Good evening. It's so good to be with you all here tonight. As a little girl, I was very, very shy. I remember my mom telling me that if I didn't learn to talk to people, they would think I was rude. And in addition to my naturally shy disposition, my childhood was chaotic. And there were years of trauma, and those years were followed by grief. As an adult, I can look back on the experiences that I've had in my life and the people who supported my resilience and have allowed me to heal. These difficult childhood experiences did develop my sensitivity, compassion, and empathy for other people. But I've always felt a spark in me that made me curious about people's stories and also unafraid of the emotional messiness of people's pain. This spark began as a quiet whisper earlier on in my life, and it's grown to be loud and clear to me now. Now, as a psychologist in private practice, when I'm given the privilege of hearing another person's story of trauma and resilience, the connection between the two of us as we share the humanity of that moment together is so special. So naturally, I'd like to talk with you all today about your feelings. When you look at the world around us, what do you see that bothers you? Is it the effects of a pandemic, political divide, iniquity, injustice? And when you allow yourself to consider these difficulties in the world, how do you feel? Maybe you feel angry, discouraged, helpless, or like many of us just want to avoid all of the unpleasantness. In my practice, I work primarily with refugees and immigrants. And last week, I met with a woman, highly respected, educated woman in her community in Africa, and she detailed her trauma to me through her tears. Separated from her family and desperate for safety in the US, she covered her eyes, she closed her eyes and she covered her face with her hands and rocked forward and backward. Her story was gripping, unimaginable trauma. And anyone with a heart after listening to her pain would have been devastated, and I was. And it would have been natural for me to feel angry, discouraged, helpless, or to want to avoid that pain. As one psychologist with an office that's a dot on the map of the world, and with limited resources, I'm sometimes led to wonder, what difference can I really make? But my Jewish faith and values ground me and they center me in my work. In Genesis, we learned that God created Adam and directed him to replenish the earth and conquer it. We're taught that Adam was created as a single being, whereas other creatures were created in larger groups. Adam, created in godly light with divine spark, was given the unique human potential and the individual human responsibility to make God's light profoundly present in the world. And so I'm encouraged that as I work to connect with, honor, and uplift another client in my office, or friend in our community, or my children at home, my potential for spreading God's light is infinite. As we approach Hanukkah, I hope that each of us just pause for a moment to recognize maybe those natural feelings of discouragement that arise in us when we acknowledge the difficulties in the world. Those feelings are important, but rather than becoming overwhelmed by them or turning away from them, we must recognize that they're a signal to us that we as human beings and as Jews are meant to spread God's light.